Hi everyone. In the men's change room last evening, I was asked how I cope with my physical disability. I've talked about this before. I want to make another video about it. Where I was at was my local YMCA. I was there to use the swimming pool. I'm doing water-based exercises in the hopes of reviving my hips and knee. I'm now into this for my 11th year. What I have to say to you, I mean sincerely. I want to start by talking about this being a matter of perspective. What I mean by this is being able to realize the silver linings, that is, the good things that happen as a result of the challenges that I have. One thing is that my self-confidence is strong, meaning I'm comfortable with being my own person. I'm not concerned about having to stand up for myself and speak up for myself when it's necessary. Another item that's important for me is that this is a matter of perspective. What I mean by this is that I met somebody 8 months after my hips became bad as an adult who had an inoperable brain tumor. I don't want to downplay the effects of chronic pain. It's extremely exhausting and debilitating to live with. However, I'm going to survive, and it's not a death sentence dealing with this lifestyle. So when I get out of bed in the morning, I'm satisfied that I've done something. It may be a minor victory for some people because they're used to getting out of the bed, brushing their teeth, having a shower, eating breakfast, and then going off to work. When you have trouble sleeping and your joints are stiff, getting out of bed in itself is a victory. So I look forward to each new day, and I also enjoy the challenges that this brings, meaning I have the confidence to face whatever life throws at me. Another item that's really important relates to getting out of bed. It's having had enough sleep to be able to focus and make sound judgments given your circumstances. So, a fresh night's sleep usually makes all the difference when either I'm overwhelmed or having a hard time making a decision. Usually starting fresh the next day helps me know what is important to be focusing on and what the right battle to fight is if I'm in a situation where I do need to stand up for myself. I also want to talk about knowing your limits. I have a fairly good handle on what I'm able to do and where I need to ask for help. And I think this is important for people to be able to acknowledge their limits. I've met, I think a particular man that I met that's in his 60s who was trying to do things that he didn't have the practical skills to complete. Ultimately, he just repeatedly frustrated himself, and it caused an extreme strain on his finances, effectively living a lie. He was living outside of the skill set that he has. So I have a fairly good handle on knowing what I can do, what I can't do, and if I agree to do something, what it's going to involve. This isn't to say there aren't surprises and things don't happen that are unexpected, but overall, if I commit to a situation, I'm all in and do my best to follow through as long as the situation remains reasonable. I find that it helps talking to others. It's one of the things that I really like about the internet, being able to join a few groups on Facebook for people who are enduring similar challenges. There's a few HIP groups that I've joined, and people who live what you're going through have a special knowledge and a special understanding that to say to someone else they've got hip problems, they don't grasp what that sentence really means. It's the same for someone who's enduring chronic pain. If you say that you're in pain, most people will believe you at face value, but not grasp the effects of pain, how it makes you tired, how it affects your focus, how it can cause you broken sleep, and how it causes everything you do in life to have become basically a mini marathon just for the simplest tasks in life. I use the example of sweeping the floor for someone who's able-bodied compared to using a wheelchair to sweep the floor. For someone who's able-bodied, it's a straightforward task. For someone who's using a wheelchair, they need to have the extreme control over the wheelchair for numerous repositioning, almost like the ultimate parallel parking challenge if you were driving a car. I've got into some gardening this year. I'm also finding it really rewarding, and I'm not too focused on the challenges that I'm having with my hips while I'm doing my gardening. I have to make provision for my physical challenges. Once I have a basically workstation set up, I'm able to just plug away, and I find it really rewarding. And there's some fairly quick results with gardening. Like, I planted tomato seeds and the seeds germinated, and I could see the results of my work about 7 days later. And later this summer I'm going to have this big harvest of tomatoes, and because so many of the tomatoes germinated, I'm going to have tomatoes that I'll be able to give away either to neighbors, local food bank, or other families that I know are having financial challenges. So there's still a life to be lived. Part of it means letting go of the life that you once knew, and it's okay to take time to grieve and to have the time that's sort of somber while you're moving and navigating your way between the lifestyles. But then I've got to a place where I try to embrace using a wheelchair to walk, for example, and the different strategy. Like, for example, with my kitchen, when I grew up, my parents' cupboards, all the lower cabinets had doors on them. For me to accommodate the wheelchair and my physical disability, the lower cabinets in my kitchen use drawers, so I parallel park beside the drawer that I want to get my plates out of, and then I just reach for my plate and close the drawer. So it involves embracing the lifestyle and then acknowledging what is needed. Obviously, food is essential for life, so is the liquids that we drink. So building a foundation of what is essential for living life, and then filling it out with the involvement of friends, activities that are enjoyable, finding a means of employment, and then seeing where life takes you. There's only so much planning you can do before you've planned so much that it's going to cripple you and make you feel overwhelmed. So you can prepare, but there's a point where you need to make a move to starting living and then seeing what adjustments and fine-tuning need to take place. I hope this makes sense. To me, if you're in motion, it's easier to remain in motion instead of stopping life and trying to start again. I find it easier to tweak as I'm going along. There's another key part of this, and that it's that you're your own person. So I have no problem acknowledging that there's going to be people that don't understand what I'm living and just aren't going to get it. And regardless of how much time and effort spent trying to teach and explain the lifestyle to someone, they're just not going to grasp or appreciate the challenges that need to be overcome for each day-to-day life and the management of the lifestyle. So I'm okay with this, and in fact I'm okay with it to being and doing what is needed for life instead of living to please someone else, irregardless of their understanding of the life that I have to live. My body is dictating what my physical limits are. There's a number of tools that are available for someone who has a physical disability, such as a power wheelchair. There's a reacher grabber that it basically extends your arm and lets you avoid bending over. So I'm not prepared to live the life that someone else thinks that I need to be living, but instead being true to myself and my faith in God. I also want to talk about the practical part of life, meaning having a plan for groceries instead of going hungry, and ensuring that you're having enough nutrients, and then being able to acknowledge when you're in over your head and know when you need to be asking help of someone, whether it be a neighbor, a doctor, social worker, whatever the resource is, but knowing when you're in a situation that you can't manage and need the outside resources to get through your day-to-day living. These are the things that I think about when I'm talking about managing my disability and the lifestyle that comes with it. I think I've given you a lot to think about. I do hope that this video is able to inspire you to be your absolute most. We're not all meant to be computer programmers, or maybe, let's say, a CEO of a company, but there's a special niche in life for each of us to live and contribute to the community around us. And I want to challenge you to be that person and find and learn about yourself and embrace what your interests are. Thank you for this time together today. Bye for now.